The federal government changes tack on carbon emissions trading.
American and Iraqi forces set for the mother of all battles in Baghdad.
And the fact that the day after we had spent 4 days with him, charges are presented to him in our absence, an act of bastardry on any scale.
An angry lawyer for David Hicks arrives back from Guantanamo Bay.
And a question for the Qantas consortium, will it still call Australia home? Good evening and welcome to SBS World News Australia. I'm Mary Kostakidis.
And I'm Stan Grant. Also tonight,
I shift from second into fifth gear and the fuel consumption drops significantly.
how changing your driving habits can cut emissions and save money.
And in sport, a new coach appointed for the Australian cricket team. But first tonight, the federal government has been persuaded to consider a national trading scheme on carbon emissions as part of its response to climate change. The opposition says it's about time. But the Prime Minister says he won't be endorsing anything that hurts Australian industry, including a carbon tax.
Kevin Rudd's linking the drought to climate change, visiting a farm near Canberra to illustrate the point.
Baghdad is bracing for what could prove to be the decisive battle of the Iraq War. Following a massive build-up of US troops under President George Bush's controversial surge strategy, the Americans are poised to launch their biggest offensive yet in the capital. They say they will drive heavily armed Sunni and Shia militants from strongholds across the city. But the militants appear to have launched their own offensive, with hundreds of casualties in weekend attacks across the capital.
Coming up next, Janice Petersen with all the day's sports news and a new coach for our cricketers, Janice.
Yeah, that's right. He's going to take charge after the retirement of John Buchanan. He's very experienced and he's a popular choice with the players.
So Quinny's neighbour says not quite yet, Jeff.
And Aaron Baddeley continues the winning run for Australian golfers on the US PGA Tour.
Now to the weather. Scattered thunderstorms and rain continue to plague northern Queensland and the Northern Territory. Some heavy falls and flooding are expected, especially for the Roper-Macarthur district in the Northern Territory. Isolated showers are expected over the remainder of the east coast. In the major centres, thunderstorms for Darwin, sunshine in Brisbane and Sydney, storms in Canberra, fine in Perth, afternoon storms in Melbourne. Looking further afield, wet in Auckland, storms for Nadi, afternoon cloud for Christchurch, sunny in Wellington, overcast for Samoa.
In Southeast Asia, a fine day for Bangkok, afternoon cloud for Denpasar, raining in Jakarta, afternoon storms for Kuala Lumpur and wet in Singapore. Further north, afternoon cloud for Beijing, fine days for Hanoi and Hong Kong. Afternoon cloud in Manila, sunshine in Seoul, Shanghai and Taipei, and some cloud in Tokyo.
Across the Middle East, raining in Beirut, a cloudy day in Baghdad, wet in Jerusalem, sunny in Riyadh and storms in Tehran. Heading west, a wet day in Athens, overcast in Berlin and London, rain in Madrid, snow in Moscow, some afternoon rain in Paris, sunny in Rome and wet in Warsaw.
In Africa, wet in Addis Ababa and Algiers, fine in Dhaka, rain for Johannesburg and Nairobi. In South America, some rain in Buenos Aires and La Paz, overcast in Lima, sunny in Panama City, wet in Rio de Janeiro and afternoon thunderstorms for Santiago.
And for North America, sunny but cold in Chicago, some cloud in Los Angeles, New York and Washington, a grey freezing day in Toronto and overcast in Vancouver.